There we are. We're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday, whatever it is you're doing, and welcome to our show. We've been very busy this week. I've been busy. You've been busy. Everybody's been busy. We'd love to know what you've been busy doing. Tell me, Marianne, what have you been busy doing this week?
We were at the Care Show in Birmingham, and it's nice. I got to see you as well. You got out from behind your computer for the day. He does exist. People think he doesn't.
Sometimes.
So we were at the NEC on, is it Friday today? It's Friday, Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah. Oh, I froze there for a minute.
You
I don't know why. Yeah,
I thought I was going to have to host the show myself then, and I got a bit scared.
There we go. Oh, I was just doing that freeze there for a minute. It was obviously, slight interruption to the interweb for a minute or so. Actually, let's just talk about that briefly, because there's been quite a lot of disruption to the internet lately. Someone told me that it was actually something to do with some of the conflict that's going on in the world at the moment.
Did I tell you, or did you tell me?
Yeah, I think you told me. Yeah.
That's only conversation. Yeah, it was to do with the military taking up bandwidth or something. I don't know. All of that is like a mystery to me. It's funny actually, because somebody
Is that confidential? Are we actually allowed to say that, or is it?
I don't know. Who told me? I don't know. All I do know is that that's the kind of description you're going to get. Chris from Orbital was trying to explain what he does with the internet the other day, and I was glazing over. And in the end, he resorted to using actions about things going down, like leads, like information, because I have to have it visually explained to me like that, because I'm not very good at understanding those sort of concepts.
Oh, he gave a talk on that at the
yeah, I missed it because I had to leave.
The Manchester show, and actually I thought it was really quite good. It did explain it really quite easily, because it was all in pictorial form.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, because I do think a lot of people believe that it's like a big mystery that data goes off into this cloud, and that, it's almost like God and Jesus. It doesn't actually exist, up there. So
if you can explain it to people, and I think because when you're particularly with dealing with the care sector, when you have got got a variety of different ages, and particularly if you've got managers who are sort of my age, maybe a little bit older, who aren't quite so confident with the internet, trying to explain those concepts to them, you need to be creative with the way you're explaining it, otherwise you're just going to lose people. And again, it's about educating people, and so that they understand. When I teach about dementia, I often will start off, I could go down the long route of doing the psychology and the biology of it all, but often what I will do is talk about it in terms of like roads and roadblocks, in terms of messages going down, the way the messages go down the neural pathways. And if people understand it that way, and that's all they need to know, stop there, because that's all they need to know to be able to get the concept, to be able to understand about that. So yeah, he explained it very well. It was just very funny.
There we go. Our special guest has arrived, so I'm going to introduce her and let her come in, and we'll find out what she understands about the internet, because she's all over it. So I wonder whether she actually understands how it works. And here she comes. It's Caitlin. Hello.
Hello. Hiya.
How are you?
I'm so tired.
I was going to say, you look like it's been a long week.
Well, lovely pink on though, my favourite colour.
Ah, thank you.
Love pink. And we've both gone for the, freezing in my office. It's warmed up now, but we've gone for the jumper. Jumpers come out.
It's absolutely, it's a proper autumnal day today in Wales. It's like crisp, sunny, but really cold weather. So yeah.
So this is Caitlin, everybody. She's actor, singer, songwriter, drummer, Welsh A-lister, which we need to find out what that actually means. And you're all over the internet, and we're going to talk about the release of your new single in a minute as well, which is very exciting because it's Friday. It's New Music Friday, and there's a release of a new new single. But yeah, do you understand the internet? Do you understand how it actually physically works?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I know that I need to be on there to maximize kind of getting my name out there and spreading my music around. But other than that, I'm just learning as I go and picking up, as many habits as I can that I know are important, like for music, especially if we're talking about music, with the algorithms and posting and hashtags and
SEOs as well.
yeah. So
all that stuff. Yeah, no, it was really quite interesting. We went to an event the other day, and there's a guy there whose job is to sort the internet out for people, and he was trying to explain it in layman's terms. And it's interesting, like most people's internet is still really based on wires, right? It's still one box connected to another box connected to another box, and the boxes just get bigger, basically. And then they travel, these wires travel around the world connecting people, which is quite scary. But he was explaining there are some alternatives now as well, which is
like mushrooms.
Like mushrooms. Yeah. No, that wasn't one of the alternatives. So apparently satellite is becoming much more of an alternative. So you actually connect to these boxes, these big boxes that then connect you to other boxes via satellite, as opposed to having to have the wire there. And because you're from Wales, and parts of Wales are quite remote, aren't they? There's not a lot.
Where I live is arguably quite remote. Yeah. Yeah.
And he was saying actually in some of those remote areas, actually the satellite internet systems are actually possibly better than if you're trying to do it via cable and whatever. So it's worth talking to your service provider about what they can do.
You just need it to be able to work now, because everything's done. I went to pick a parcel up just earlier, last night, and I went, I can't get on to get my email that had the thing, and the guy was like, go and stand outside the door because it works. Shouldn't really happen, not when everything's relying upon it.
Yeah, it is. You do find that if you leave your house and you haven't got Wi-Fi and you haven't got maybe 5G or whatever, then you're like, I don't know what do I do? How do I
can't
function?
Talk to us about this single. It's a good time to release this single because it's October. So what's the single called?
October.
There you go. You see, which is a great time to release a single called October. Why did you write a song about October? What is it about October?
It's really as simple as this time last October, I got ghosted by somebody that I really loved, and I thought that they loved me too. And I spent 4 weeks, or the month of October, being like, are you alive? Honestly, when I say ghost, that was the worst experience of that I've ever had. There was nothing. Like, it went from, hey, how are you? Every single day to nothing at all for 4 weeks. And it was a really strange time for me because I was working on a musical called Housemates at the time, with Hijinks Theatre Company, who were just brilliant and amazing. So I was, career-wise and acting-wise and everything was going so well. And I thought that I'd have this person to kind of share it with. And suddenly they just weren't there. And so it's really... What's that?
Just out of the blue,
Yeah. And
not uncommon, but
yeah. And that was, after months of seeing each other effectively. So I really I've been ghosted in the past and stuff, and it's been like, oh, whatever, you get over it. But this one was different because I think I didn't know how to balance everything. I didn't know my career was bloom, it was doing so well, and I was meeting all these new people. I was in a show that was so important. I was getting all of this praise and oh, you're amazing on the drums. Oh, this show's amazing, sell out audiences every night. But then all of a sudden, I was just wanting to share it with that special person, and I wanted to have that come and see me in the show and come and visit Wales type of thing and all that thing. But yeah, anyway, so I started kind of what I've called it on all of my posts today, tending to probably like a year-long heartbreak cycle, if you like. So I had the initial shock of it, and then the song takes you, it's called October because it starts in October, but it kind of takes you through a full year of me just like accepting what happened and that I'm not really ever going to get any answers. So it's about grief and loss and pain and all of the things you love to listen to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Therapeutic.
I mean, those themes have been around since the beginning of time and relationships, you know, breaking up, losing something. But this whole ghosting thing, I mean, that's quite a new phenomenon in a way, isn't it?
I shared a post about this recently. It was Jodie Marsh, I think it was, who I haven't heard from for ages. And she posted something, it was on Facebook, I think it was, about how she said this happened to lots of my friends and it happened to her. And it was this guy that she knew and he was going to come to this party with her or something. And she didn't turn up. And he literally was going to turn up and then he just didn't. And then she messaged him and then he didn't contact her for like 3 days. And then a different kind of ghosting, but it was still, he was going to come and she said he just didn't. A friend of mine's just going through it as well. And all to do with the other person not dealing with their own stuff. Really.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if it's a male-female thing. It seems to be, but I'm not going to be sexist about it. Yeah. Whether it's just females talk to their friends more and they're more open about that, who knows? But I do think definitely now with the internet and with being able to contact each other, maybe it feels worse because people can, I don't know, because actually that's a lot of years ago. I had someone just message me before I was married and just said, it's over. And that was it. And I'm like, I don't know if that's worse or being ghosted. The ghosted's awful because
honestly, they were moments I remember because I was with really lovely people at the time. My friend Eve, actually, who I met doing Housemates, and I'm still really good friends with her now, and we've kind of bonded from that job and kept in contact. I remember her coming up to me in the reception area on a lunchtime in the Sherman Theatre in Cardiff, and we were all sat there, and everyone was like talking and having a laugh and stuff when we were rehearsals. And I was just sat there, my lunchbox was on the table, and I was just like staring at my phone. And she came over to me like quietly and went, "Caitlin, are you okay?" And I was like, I literally don't know. I can't do anything. I can't concentrate on anything. I'm just lost. I'm so lost. I don't know who I am anymore. I was like, I thought I had everything worked out. And, you know, all of this sounds so dramatic and stuff. Like, I'm fine now. I've had a year to write a song about it and use music as therapy and all that stuff. But I think the ghosting thing, you know, does come from the internet, like you said, like we were talking about. I think it's and the fact that we are all so in contact all the time, or can be. It's at our fingertips, quite literally, isn't it? All of the apps. You could FaceTime somebody now, which makes it feel like they're in the room. So when somebody now just blanks you, it feels like an even more shocking thing because
you go down loads of avenues. I wonder if I'm sort of thinking back to my days of all the many men. I thought I was going to write a book about it actually years ago, and just thinking about like being told it's over. It's slightly different than being ghosted in that when the person doesn't give you a reason. But I think that being ghosted psychologically, it's not nice. Like psychologically, like you said, you had everything, but you'd given somebody evidently your heart, and then they just like dropped it somewhere.
Yeah. It's mad. It is mad. And I'm sad to say it's not the first time it's happened, but that was the one for some reason. I don't know whether it's because I was doing so well in other kind of, I think of life as like you spinning plates, right? So sometimes if I've got an acting job, that plate's full and I'm like, right, music, I gotta keep music up. And we're just constantly trying to balance, but there's also the life plates, which are like relationship, friendships, socializing, then there's like me time, then there's like the gym. And, you know, I think of it as like balancing plates, right? Because then it just helps me yeah, if one thing doesn't go right, I can then think to myself, but I've got all these other plates that I'm spinning, so that's fine. I can let that slip for a while. You know,
Love is something quite different, though, isn't it?
but the love plate, that one's a hard one to let slip, especially if you don't know why, because you're just like, what am I waiting
You can't
for?
put it anywhere. You can't put your plate anywhere.
I was just
Honestly,
thinking that this might be sorry. I was just thinking this might be a really good point to, if I can do this, actually share a little bit of the song. How about that? That would be quite cool, wouldn't it? Let's see if I
that would
can
be
do this.
lovely.
Here we go. So I think you can all see this now. So this is it.
Oh, I hear it.
Let's see if I can actually get sound as well. I don't know. If not, do you know what you're going to have to do? If not, well, that's the video.
Whereabouts was that filmed? That looks very impressive.
That was a beach in Porthcawl, which is not that far from where I live, called Newton Bay Beach, Merthyr Mawr. And it was actually, we filmed it in September, which is an unpopular month for this song, obviously. But the thing is that, you know, in Wales, you'd assume that it'll be overcast at the very least. It was so bright that day. It was so bright. Yeah, it is beautiful, but we do have a lot of rain. What's that?
The beaches in Wales are really amazing. Did you say you play the drums?
Yeah, I'm a drummer. Yeah,
I'm just saying, my son plays the drums, and yeah, he's a drummer, and he teaches now as well. He's only 16, and he's just started teaching.
That's exactly what I started doing. Yeah, I started doing little lessons for like kids on the street that used to want to learn and stuff, because we had the drum room. So then they'd come down, and I'd be like, £20 an hour.
Well, that's how
he's got some mature students, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a lady who's 37. She comes twice a week.
Wow!
And he's had somebody else that he's a teacher or something of some other music, and said he wants to learn drums. And then somebody else randomly that we borrowed a tie off for his prom. I said, oh, you know, I must. He said, I said something about his drums, and then he said, I want to learn. And I said, well, maybe he'd give you a lesson as a thank you. But yeah, he started because he wanted to get a job, and I thought I can't really see him doing like waiting on or working in a shop, because he's got his head in the clouds most of the time. Well, actually, he's got his head with earphones in and at his drums or his guitar, because he's taught himself that. But it's literally the thing that I'm not musical minded. I'm sports, like, at all.
Really?
For him, and you probably understand this. I didn't know he struggled at school, and he was always the one that would. But he's sort of forgotten about, if you know what I mean. He wasn't a problem to anybody. And then we found out later on he was autistic, and he was always the one that was at the back. I was the mum that was always looking at all the other mums going, oh, there's her at the front, and he's at the back, and I might as well like not be here because I can't see him. And and it was funny because he then started learning drums in, I was trying to think, maybe it was year 6, maybe. Because then when we went into COVID, he was learning drums, and then they did some of it online. And then he carried on with that, with Rock Project it was. And he just carried on, and then they played at the Fleece in Bristol. Once a year they do an event there, they all get, which is lovely that they do that. And then he just sort of carried on, really. And I just suddenly saw that, we've gone from, he had acoustic, and then he went to electric, and now we've got acoustic. That it was the thing that, literally the only thing that, he had a bad day, he'd come home and he'd just go and smash out on his drums for a bit, and then he started learning guitar, so he taught himself, and now he's doing music production at college.
Lovely. That's cool. That's helpful.
Well, he could have done music performance, but he said, actually no, because I'm doing that anyway, so if I learn. And literally now he's doing stuff. He's just like so happy. He's not happy he's got to retake his maths GCSE, but
oh god, I almost had to do that.
So, but yeah, I never got the whole. And it's funny because I hear parents sort of try and push their kids down a route that's the academic route, and I'm like, there wouldn't be any point, because literally this is his life. It's literally, he's met someone at college that does rapping, and they've just written a rap, and they're allowed to do all of the they're the ones that do the stuff for the music performance people. So he said I was the drum tech the other day, and I said, is that a good thing? And he said, yes, I was chosen to be it. And I was like, okay, sorry. But it's great.
Parents aren't meant to understand these things.
But
right?
he's never pushed himself. He's never been the one. He'd always step back, if you know what I mean. Whereas with this, he just is there with bells on, and watching him then teach people, it's just like, wow, I never thought. Like, never.
The thing is with drums as well is that, actually, a lot of autistic people are very, very good at music because they've got this one thing they channel all of their energy into, and they are phenomenal and they're brilliant. And it does open up, you know, the social skills you need as well, because you have to be able to play with other people, especially as a drummer. And I think the biggest thing with drums is that there's a confidence that comes with drumming that you have to just have, because you're the backbone of any band. And if you're the drum tech, you're tuning the drums, you're setting them up, you're making sure the space is correct for the sound and everything. You're working with the sound people more than any of the other instruments, I'd argue, maybe. And an element
and it's quite physical.
So physical, yeah. So physical.
And what I mean by that is, if you think about other musicians on the stage, and I mean, I'm not saying this is, you know, across the board, because obviously there's flamboyant musicians on every instrument, right?
Yeah.
But you know, you can't, with a drummer, even if they're kind of hidden away towards the back of the stage.
Yeah, they always are, which really annoys me, because they're amazing to watch.
Not always.
Not always.
Not
generally they are.
Yeah. We'll talk about jellyfish in a minute. We'll talk about jellyfish, remind me. But with a drummer, even if they're hidden away towards the back, you can see what they're doing per se. Whereas actually, especially with, you know, I'm going to say, with a lot of bands with people like, I'm going to get it in the neck now, with bass players or whatever, for example, they can kind of hide away, and it's almost like, you know, there isn't the physical element going on in the same way, unless you're Flea or.
It's funny because Samuel learned drums, taught himself guitar.
Wow.
He actually, so they formed a band, some of them from the group he goes to. So he's actually on guitar for that, but purely because one of the other guys doesn't play the guitar. So he still does, but you know, he still does both. And he said, my love really is still with the drums. But I love him though. He did that event, Graham, I said to you. So they played at some Steam festival thing. I can't remember what it was. They did it for free, and then I think it was a local school said, did they want to come and play at this fireworks display? There was about 2,000 people that are going to be there, and I thought that they've got their pictures done, and I thought, when I think, like you said about the social skills, even like I'd been organising all the lessons, and I thought, this is difficult. I've got ADHD, and organising my own life was hard enough, let alone somebody else's business. So I said, look, I'm going to have to start Facebook messages, group ones, with the parents, so you can deal with it. Well, I was at the care show this week, and he wasn't very well, unbeknownst to me. And so I popped this message saying, I'm really, really sorry. I've got this really bad illness. It might be COVID. Love him. He typed out this whole message, and I just thought, because he had to. He absolutely had to, because he knew that he knew he had to. And I thought, as you said, he had to do it, because it was important to him. Up till now, other things haven't been important. But
he's not gonna text the math teacher and say sorry, is he? He can't be asked because
exactly. Whereas this is a customer, and he knew he had a responsibility to this child and the parent.
It's like when you see all of these cuts in music education and stuff, and I'm just sitting there going, on the surface, you think you're just taking a violin off a little girl and she can't play violin. Oh, it's so much more than that. It's like most of my friends, in fact, I'd argue all of my friends, even the ones who didn't then go and study music, we've connected from orchestra from when we were like 12. It's all from music. And those are connections that I've kept. Like my guitarist, Josh, who I've been taking around with me over the festival season and stuff, everyone always goes, oh, so how do you two know each other? You know, and they probably just assume he's a session player that I'm paying. he's doing that for free for me because he didn't go and do music. He went and did engineering, and he's got a proper big boy job, if you like, because that's how we joke about it. And he's so desperate to continue to do music on the side that he's got the ability to just, whenever he needs a day off work, you know, his work's really flexible. He can work from home. So like, as an example, last summer, I thought I was pushing it a little bit by being like, oh, how do you feel about coming to Gibraltar for a week just to do some gigs over there? Because, you know, it's a huge part of me and they've invited me over, and I just, it feels really rubbish doing anything with a backing track. Like, I would so much prefer to split and have a live guitarist with me, and also just my friend on holiday with me. Let's face it, like, it's Gibraltar, it's the sun, you know, all that stuff. And he just went, yeah, oh my God, that's so cool. That's so rock star. I'll be there. I'll sort work out. I can work from Jib. Your auntie's got Wi-Fi, hasn't she? I said, yeah, she's got Wi-Fi. And he's like, yeah, great. So if I come on the Thursday, I'll only have to have the Friday off work, and then Saturday and Sunday doesn't count. And he just was so like willing to help me because he knows the not so great side of things, you know, from me now as a 28. Oh my God, nearly 28. I'm 28 next week. 27. I guess.
You youngster, you.
Well, young in any other industry, yeah, but not so much in this one. But yeah, 27, I can still say while sweating. Josh was like, I'm, you know, I know that they're not paying you that much, or they'll cover you half a flight, or, you know, he's like, look, I'm doing this because I'm your friend and I've known you all my life, and I know that this is something that you want to pursue, but also you are proving that things are moving for you, like the A-list and stuff. Like, things this year especially have seemed to roll a little bit more on a bigger scale, if you like, you know, and that's not me being like, oh, I've got BBC A-List. That's me being like, I needed that to carry on, actually, because financially it's such a difficult industry. But back to the point, most of my friends, like Josh, are musicians, you know, on the side, or, you know, I've got some friends who used to do it, and then they've actually prioritized that they want children or a house or a mortgage and a car, so they've decided to kind of move back home, and now they gig on the side, and it's a huge release of like endorphins for them after they come on.
When I watch Samuel playing drums, my youngest is quite a different character to him, and when Oliver plays, the youngest, he does it with real. But with Samuel, I watch him, and it's like he does it with a different kind of way about him. It is really interesting knowing the two characters as well. I can see the way the two of them use how they play very differently. And even though Samuel plays rock music, he's learning now that he said I'm learning now, and we're going to have to change up what we do, because most people aren't really going to be into that.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good as you develop as a musician, you learn that you need to have a broader palette in terms of your music as well. Just even if what you love and what you choose to do is this, it's good to understand a broader palette of music so that you can, you know, add color to what it is that you're doing. Otherwise it tends to go down one particular line. Very quickly
about the A-lister thing. Is that what you were going to say about?
Yeah, I was going to say, explain the A-lister thing. Have you got a T-shirt with it on?
No,
I'll make you one.
Oh, thanks.
Marianne will make you one. I'm in the A-list, in the Welsh A-list.
I don't think I know anyone called Marianne, and I think that's such a beautiful name. I'm not even trying to be like, really, seriously. Marianne is such a lovely name. Marianne Mills feels like a pop star name, doesn't it?
I'd say actor, wouldn't you? It's a real actor.
Yeah, Marianne Mills.
Well, it was because my dad liked Marianne Faithfull, who went out with Mick Jagger, and there's a bit of stuff around that. But I met somebody this week called Katie Costello, and I said, "What a name is that?"
That's a name as well.
Sounds like amazing, doesn't it? Katie Costello. So I said, "You sound like you're like." But thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
A-list.
Explain A-list.
A-list, yeah. That boring thing that I've been trying to get for years. So the BBC can, when you upload a song to the BBC introducing network, if you like, and you've got your account as an artist on there, you upload a song, or you should, I don't know why anyone wouldn't, and it goes into the computer system there, and then all of the radio presenters and producers and teams at the BBC based on what your address is. So mine always go to Cardiff, right? Because my home address is County Wales. It'd be the same for BBC Scotland, Ireland. I'm not entirely sure what goes on over there. And then there's obviously the England, London one, right? So you put your song in, and somebody, they send you an email just to be like, thanks for submitting your song. Somebody may or may not listen to it, and it may or may not get played, but we've received it. So you go, great. And you just have to leave it and not think about it, which is the hardest part. Because like, and then sometimes you'll get a more specific email. So I'll use Adam Walton as an example, because he's been a massive supporter of music. So I actually had an email last night from a member of the team in Adam Walton's listening production office, and it said, hello Caitlin, somebody from BBC Radio Wales Adam Walton show has listened to your track. This doesn't mean we'll play it, doesn't guarantee a play, but they've listened. So you go, right, great, thanks.
Okay.
Then the next
you haven't been ghosted.
Yeah, I haven't been ghosted. Yeah, basically. Then the next step is you can get an email saying, hi, Caitlin, it's Adam Walton. I'm going to play your track tonight on my 1 hour long show or 3 hour long show, 7 till 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, right? So you go, great, I'm getting a BBC play. So you can say, I've got a BBC Radio
And that's
Wales.
when you get on the socials and go, I'm being played tonight on this show.
That's when you start going, how do I attach the BBC logo to this picture? And then how do I do that? I've forgotten, because I forget every time. Humble, I know. I'm like, I am going ready. I don't like to like jinx it. Or some people would say that's manifesting, but I'm like, no, that's jinxing it, having it ready. So that's when you do that. And that means that you've had one play, maybe they'll play it again on the same show. And then obviously you've got the on repeat or on, what's it called when you can listen anytime?
Yeah, on demand.
On demand, yeah. And that's online, and that's really cool. The A-list is a completely different thing, really. What it means is that Adam Walton, as an example now, even if he didn't play it on his show, he might go, I'm not going to play it, but I think this should be considered for A-list, which means BBC Radio Wales and all of their main shows throughout the week, they're allowed to pick per week 6 Welsh artists who are unsigned. So there's nothing going on, no backing behind them at all. And those 6 songs go in rotation on every single one of those shows. So as an example, when I got A-listed for the first time with Gold, I was actually on the A-list for 3 weeks, because what can happen then is they can just keep choosing your song, which is unlikely. I don't really know how that's happened for me twice this year, because normally you'll get on there for a week and then that's it. So when it's on rotation with the BBC, that means, it gets played every single day. For like you could be played 3-4 times a day, because it's every single BBC Radio Wales show. That means that you're, without even contacting the BBC, I've naturally networked now, and I've had people like Bronwen Lewis, Wyn Evans, who else was there? Benis Aka. All of the main BBC presenters then have said my name, and they've introduced me, and they've said, this is one of our A-listers. And they talk about you as if they've all been in the process of like choosing your song, which is actually quite hilarious, because they just get sent in. They're like, this is on the A-list, because it's all the producers, right? And then from there, what it's done for me is PRS money on the BBC is just better. I've actually just had my first PRS statement through, because PRS give you money quarterly for like how many times your song's played and stuff. I've just had the October one through, and it's the most money I've ever made from releasing music ever. Granted, it's still a joke, but but it's not pennies, right? It's pounds this time. So like that's definitely a reflection of me being played on BBC radio, rather than just the kind of online radios and the small fish in the sea, if you like. Because
it is helpful, isn't it? Actually getting your music in front of some of these presenters, because it depends where those presenters then go in their career as well.
And lots of the BBC presenters have worked up to where they are, and they've been DJs in the past. They know music venues. They, they're so well connected to, especially then because what BBC does is it takes me to the Cardiff like little circle of the BBC, then I'm going, if I want to say email one of them, because I automatically get all their emails through, then I'm like, hi Bromwell Lewis, do you need like, I got an opportunity recently and I'm a bit gutted about it. I got asked to be Bromwell Lewis's female drummer on her tour in January and
Wow.
February. And I was, because her producer just texted me, because obviously they know my name now and they've heard my songs and stuff, and they know that I'm a drummer because I've been in and I've been interviewed live on air. And I was like, oh, I'd love to do that, but it clashes with, actually, weirdly, Housemates is going on tour in February. And I just, because of financial things, I just couldn't say to Bromwell Lewis, yeah, I'll do 5 dates with you when I'm doing 5 months with Housemates. You know, I just couldn't do it. But that's still an open thing, and I just said to them, obviously, if you know, we can make it work, I'm here and I'd love to do it. But that would not have happened if I hadn't have got A-List, and that's nothing to do with my solo music. That's just them knowing that I'm a session drummer and then being like, she wants a female band, that's something they're going to try and like sell, and they were thinking you were Welsh, and that makes sense.
We're seeing more Welsh presenters make it to the top as well.
We are. I think it's to do with like
Hugh Stevens.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh no, Hugh Stevens. What am I thinking of? Wait, no. Who am I thinking of? The one that's just been like
Hugh Edwards.
Oh
no. Hugh Stevens, the Welsh guy.
I'm glad you got that right, because I've been in interviews for this single and I've mixed them up before, and everyone's
that presented the Mercury prizes this year, etc.
Yes, yeah. He's amazing. He's actually one of the only presenters that hasn't played anything yet. So maybe this is the song where he'll be like, yeah, go on then. But Adam Walton, Beth and Elvin, my friend now, Molly Palmer, she's worked her way up, and it looks as if she's going to be doing really well. But she started off DJing and stuff. And it's really funny. Everyone's like, oh, you got A-listed because Molly's in the building now. Molly didn't play my song once. I was like, she's got no say in what she plays. It's her production team, you know, put in.
I think what you need is you need to get yourself a T-shirt with. So every time you're doing a podcast like this, or an on-air piece like this about October or the new song, whatever the new song is, you need a T-shirt with Hugh Stevens' face on it and say, Hugh Stevens, play me.
Yeah, hello, you're the only one.
You know, come on.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you mention it, because and this is an important point. I sometimes say to musicians when they come on like the music podcast or whatever, say, actually, you do need to mention the names of people you want to work with, right? Because
100%, yeah,
it's the way that social media works, because I'm then going to tag in that person.
Well, you advised me with that, with my work, which is completely different. That's what we first started out with. Was you saying, think about who you'd like to work with.
Yeah.
And,
you know, so I think it's a great bit of advice for any musician out there, which is actually blatantly be really obvious about it and go, do you know what? I want to be, if you make that kind of like a little agenda within an agenda, it's like, okay, I'm going to promote my new song, but yeah, you go the extra hog and you get the T-shirt and you whatever, and it's like, yeah, I'd just like to point out my T-shirt today. I'd love if Hugh Stevens is listening, watching, or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Then it would be great.
It's effectively like networking, isn't it? Like, and I think a lot of people are just afraid to put themselves out there. But the second you start tagging, like, I do it now. Even when I put that reel up last night at midnight to be like, out now, I was like, shall I tag Horizons? Shall I tag them, or was I going to be annoying? Shall I tag Beth and Elvin in this reel so she sees it? Like, oh, I don't want to be annoying, but I just did it because I was like, I don't care. What are they going to do? Ignore it? Like,
Graham, you talked about this the other day about how you were saying with Samuel, with his band and stuff, about how it's. I don't know what your thoughts are, because I'm totally not. I'm in a completely different world. About whether it's harder now to get seen, or whether it's easier, because in some respects it's easier because you've got different channels, but in other respects, when you then look behind a lot of people, you'll see how they got there, if you see what I mean. But I don't know, because it's a completely different world to my world. So.
Well, I was watching a really brilliant series on Disney Plus, actually, thank you to my 4-year-old niece for making my family all get Disney Plus. I just thought it would be like Princess Diaries on there and stuff, which would still be great. But actually,
they are on there, which is,
oh my god! And there's a new one coming out. I can't even go there.
Right.
It's my like, I'll get palpitations thinking about it. That was like my childhood film. Anyway, can't wait. So yes, I went on there and I was looking at like the documentaries and stuff. And there's one called Camden, or something to do with Camden, and it's all these stars looking back and talking about how Camden was the place to gig, and all of these like these universal people would be just randomly having drinks after work one day, and they'd spot you and they'd sign you on the spot, and then you'd be taken out of the Camden streets and you'd go to LA and you'd make these, and they'd put all this money towards, Coldplay was a great example of that. Chris Martin was on there saying all about, how they got signed, and it's basically from playing a few gigs in Camden, And I was thinking about it now because I used to live in London. I was in Putney, but obviously we used to go to Camden all the time because we were all musicians and actors, and it's just a cool place to hang out, isn't it? So we used to go up there and just to see gigs and go out. And I was just thinking about my time, and that was maybe like a year or two ago now, 3-4 years ago even. And I was like, I don't think that would happen. That wouldn't happen now. It just wouldn't happen now. It's not. There's too many. It's oversaturated, but it probably isn't. It's just that we can, as we were saying, full circle at the beginning. You can just. It's so easy to just tag somebody from your living room. You haven't got to go out to a gig to see a band live.
Some of it's chart. Obviously, you've got to be good to be good.
Well, to get the gigs, you've got to be good, really.
But some of it is chance in terms of, like you said, if somebody just sees, whatever it is. I think about the work that I do, and I still keep praying that maybe somebody will, just because somebody's heard something. But equally, I then know that actually, I was listening actually at the Care Show yesterday, at the stand we were on, and it was really interesting. I struggle to hear those things, but it was about women in business. And I couldn't believe it. It horrified me. And it was about these women saying about that they'd started up their businesses, and that one of the ladies was saying that she'd, I didn't catch all of it, but what the upshot of it was that she decided that she got married and she wanted to have children, but she had to delay having them. She didn't have to, but she kind of did. And then she said, I needed to speak to one of the directors to see if I could have a baby. And this other lady stopped and said, can you actually imagine a man ever having to go to one of the directors saying, would it be okay if I have a baby? And just,
well, especially as there was probably a man involved in that decision.
Sorry? No, the whole of it was really interesting, though. The bit that was interesting, I know. But the bit that was interesting was, tying back to this, was to do with like who sees you. And one of these companies, apparently it was to do with, was it easier to make it if you were just your average person with these top sort of high-end companies? And apparently on their website they said something like, we'll only ever use people or consider people that have been recommended to us. But when you actually looked at the demographic of the people that worked for them, it was only ever going to be people that were from a certain demographic. And as they were saying on there, they couldn't believe it, that they were actually proud to put that on there. They were actually proud to say that unless you were in the in crowd or you were in the club already, you weren't going to be considered. It just made me sort of think then about what you were saying about with the music, that so often it's not always what you know. It's
got nothing to do.
But I'm sure that you hear people out there that are musicians and think they're not really, but they were in the right place at the right time, or they knew the right people.
Yeah,
I think it's more, the right place, right time. I actually been reflecting on that a lot recently after watching that documentary, and I've been thinking about right place, right time. And I actually think that it is who you know more than anything now. I don't even think playing a gig with the right person in the audience. Yeah, I just think there's too many. It seems like there's too many people doing it, and too many people trying to do the same thing to tick the boxes. To sell
I'm going to say, I think it actually always was who you know.
Who you know, yeah.
I think it always was, and I think business in general has always been about who you know.
Yeah.
Not what you know. And actually, even if you delved into those stories about, you know, bands being signed in Camden and whatever else. I mean, back in the day, I did some band management back in the day, and I actually used to take bands from down Bedfordshire area to into London to play gigs at various venues. There was a famous venue, sort of Covent Garden, that we used to play quite a lot, and that would have A&R guys sitting in the audience. So we knew that on certain nights A&R would sit in the audience, and it was place to go. But just because someone's sitting in the audience doesn't mean anything, right? It was all up to, did you actually know that A&R person, and were you actually friends with them? And you know, and that would guarantee that they would come and they would stay and they would listen to your band, etc.
Yeah.
I think a couple of things. I think there's still a lot of disproportionate representation across everything business. Women in business are still actually disproportionately represented in the same, and they are in the music industry as well. It's one of the reasons, actually, a lot of people say, why do you have so many female artists on your music podcast compared with men? And the reason being is because actually they need more support.
Yeah.
Because they don't get it. As they actually, if you watch media, as you work up media to the higher levels of media, it is more men that feature.
Well, what was interesting at the Care Show this week, when I spoke to Joe from Hearts, who you'd spoken to, Graham, got your name there for a second, sorry.
It's written there, just in case you forget.
And we were talking about the whole social media thing, and I think it is to do with potentially who you know, but also who you present yourself as, which isn't necessarily the person that you actually are. And she was saying about, you know, there are so many people in marketing now that don't actually know their stuff, and that she was saying that there was a particular brand that she knew of, and they'd actually got, I think it was another celebrity or something, to attach themselves to that brand or whatever. And they realised then it had ditched, but it was because nobody had done their actual homework to see that the particular person that they picked, that they had, it's a women's clothing brand, but they are, the men, it was mostly men watching this person. It was actually men that were actually linked to their Instagram or something like that. So actually it all bombed, because they didn't actually look at it properly to see who it was that was attaching to that person. So it's all, I even see it in the, and you see it, Graham, and you know exactly what I'm about to go on to another podcast in a bit, and I'll be probably talking about this stuff, that this influencer thing. And if that person said that they like it, but that's not necessarily to say that they're that good. And doing work in the neurodiversity world, so I'm diagnosed, but actually I'm finding it a little bit cringeworthy, to be quite honest now, because it just feels almost a little embarrassing to say. And there are, I'm not saying all celebrities, and I think Paris Hilton, I think it was this week, came out and said something actually very sensible with what she'd said. But I think the whole social media thing,
you know.
Yeah, I think the whole social media thing, it is, in terms of, like we said, being known, it's good. But I think when you're somebody that's worked really hard to get where they have, which you have, and like you said, you put the hard yards in, you put to then see that somebody else makes it because they knew somebody, but then the reality behind it is that person's not that nice, or they're not really that person. It's just that that's what their persona is that's been shown on social media, and that whole thing of the influencer thing, because I genuinely don't think they're necessarily that great, all these influencers. I think when you actually speak to people that are just genuinely really good people that know their stuff, they're actually the people that should be the influencers. Every industry has them, but they're the ones that are actually doing it. I've seen it this week at the Care Show, you know, but who are the people that are actually just doing it for that industry or that sector? Even if you took all the money away, they're the ones that would still keep doing it, because they're not really in it for the fame. They just love what, like obviously you do. You love what you do, and they're the people that really people like my son would be, and who I want to be looking at, because it's not about the glitz and glam.
No,
it's not about that.
and I think they're the worst parts actually about it, because as an example, you know, you're looking at people like Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter and what's the Brat Summer, Charlie XCX, with the green imagery and everything, the logo. And it's great. And I obviously, if I ever get to that level, I'm a drama queen. So of course I'm gonna spend money on what it looks like. I think it's part of a show. You know, Pink's always done it. Lady Gaga, like Beyonce, these huge touring shows which have got like pyrotechnics and it's all about the.
You'd have a video where you climb up a pile of brass.
I still think you'd keep it real, though. I think I love nothing more than when you still see. It must be hard when you've made it to the top, because you've obviously got everybody wanting to make money out of you. But I just really think people that then really keep it real, those are the people I've really got respect for.
Yeah, and like, you know, I remember when Adele was like suddenly on the scene, and it was like black dress, nothing on stage, she just sang, and it was about her voice. And, you know, even when she did that iconic Brit performance of Someone Like You, and she's just stood by a piano in like, yeah, probably like the dress cost a few grand, don't get me wrong, but like, you know, she's just in a black dress singing. That's that, and she was like, I don't care if it's the Brits, I'll be in the middle on the tiniest stage, and I'll sing to all those people and they'll just listen because they're all musicians. But I think the point I was trying to make there was that now I think visually, because of social media and kind of asking people to follow you and to invest in you in that way, more so than just listen to you, I think it's so about visuals now. And I'm toying with like whether I hate that or whether I love that, because like sometimes I embrace it and I'm like, oh, it actually helps me write a song. Because I'm like, imagine a song for like when you're walking through an autumnal forest, or like what type of, you know, song do I want it to see in the summer? I would never have released my single that I've just released before October called Pretty Alright. I never would have released that now, because it's the wrong time of year. It feels like people want to stare out of their rainy, cold window and have a ballad to sing to. Whereas, you know, Pretty Alright was like a summer, bright, colourful, hitting TVs and like breakthrough things. So it's to do with the seasons, who's following you, what colours are eye-catching. You know, when you're like picking for me that image of me with the piece of material on the beach, I was a bit scared about that because it's a bit dark for what I have done in the past, apart from gold, but that was eye-catching because it's just like an image of my head in the middle. But you've got, even when we were choosing it, I wasn't thinking about the picture or the colours or how good the kind of what's it called, like the layout of it was. I was thinking of when that's really small on Spotify, is that going to catch your eye? Because if it catches your eye, you're more likely to click on it and listen, and then maybe I get a follower from it. It's like there's so many things now that I don't think when that
when you think about the whole ADHD thing, I mean, I know that there's so many people speaking about neurodiversity, there's a lot of the people that don't necessarily know more than others, but they've known the right people and they've got the right look. It's quite frustrating when you are somebody that lives as somebody that's that sort of thinking, stop glamorizing it because you've put pink and red and bright and all this kind of stuff. But like you say, it must be difficult then. Even me, as you know, as a trainer, I have to sit sometimes and say, am I going to sell my soul? And actually, even this week, something happened, and I sat there and I said, oh, I've been shouting about this for a long time. And I actually made a joke post about it, didn't I, Graham? And I just said, you know, I've been banging the drum like a drum banger does.
Another drum banger.
Yeah. But nobody listened to me. And it's frustrating, but I kind of just sat there very quietly, which is very rare for me. And I just thought, but I do know what I'm talking about. And at some point in time, maybe, just maybe, somebody will listen.
You have to have that self-belief. We're going to have to leave it there because you're meant to be somewhere else any minute now. It's 1 minute to 10.
Thank you.
That's all right. I have to keep time for her. Otherwise, it just, you know, you know, we just carry on all day because we enjoy it so much.
It's true.
Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you as well.
Great conversation.
I have to get my son to watch you.
folks.
Heck yeah, definitely.
Important thing: go out, add October to your playlist now, and play it lots and lots of times. But
Keep
add
it
it
on
to a
the
playlist.
feed.
That's really, really important, because if you add it to a playlist and then another playlist and another playlist, that helps in the algorithm thing.
It
Okay.
does.
Until next week, we'll be back with more of the same. Marianne, go and do your thing. Be brilliant. Be absolutely brilliant. Caitlin, thank you so much. We'll be back again another time, another place. Same time, same place next week. Until then, bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.